Mike. Mike O'Neill.
It's almost done.
Okay.
I'll get there before Monday.
Don't trip, whatever you do, please.
I'll call the meeting for the City Council of Pacifica to order on November 13th, 2018. It's on a Tuesday because Monday was observed day for roll call, please.
Councilmember Martin.
Okay, so in honor of Veterans Day, we'll have a presentation of the colors and a salute to the flag by Greg Stepanaco, Alan Hale, Vern Alonso, and Dennis Pearl.
yet, but we're working on that right now. But they'll be coming on board and working on what the zone's going to look like and what we can expect from the service. So why Flex Pacifica? Well, we did look at a couple other areas to see maybe if there are other places this could work. But the beauty of this location is, first of all, it gives us a wonderful before and after opportunity to see is rider behavior truly shifted with this on-demand technology, right? That's great. That's like a perfect little lab, just changing the technology. It also is a great opportunity because we don't have to procure a lot of capital equipment. Microtransit works with smaller vehicles. Samtrans does not have a fleet of smaller vehicles, so your Flex Pacifica is operated with a 22-foot vehicle, which is great. It's scalable. It's operated by our contractor. We're not bound by the Samtrans, the run book changes happen on January whatever and on June whatever. We can kind of add in resources or take them away as we need to. And I think it's a really wonderful opportunity to look at a new service model for low-density communities, such as Pacifica and the coast side. And there might be other opportunities throughout the Samtrans service area. Here's a chart just to show you what the ridership has done. So we saw kind of a trend in the wrong direction for the first half of the year, and we kicked up some marketing in April and May, and we did see a nice little bump up of the ridership. We do see students riding this, going to high school and junior high. So we saw a little drop off in the summertime, and now ridership is picking back up. But it's really only 100 trips a day. So that's really 50 people a day taking, a round trip on the service. So it's not a huge number of people. So we think we can do a lot of hand-holding as we start to launch this and really talk to the existing riders and get them comfortable with the technology. So the next steps is to get our contract finalized with our vendor. And then we're working really hard on an outreach and marketing plan. Our priority is converting existing riders, and we're gonna take that very seriously. I love this stuff. I'm gonna be out there riding. We're gonna do tabling events at community centers or senior centers. We'll have signs at bus stops, we'll do something splashy probably, but we're gonna do a lot of hand-holding. And the marketing of this will be layered in with that, but the priority is converting the existing riders. We'll be installing technology. It's really cloud-based, so there's really not a lot of installation. Installing the tablets, training operations, training customer service. And then we're looking at going live in the spring, maybe April. So that is my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Sue Vitalas.
I have a question. When we had the last meeting, the seniors said that they had no service on the weekends back in the back with the senior centers, and they have no way to get in and out. Will this run on the weekends?
We are proposing to just keep it Monday through Friday in the beginning, but we are well aware of the request for weekend service, and we think this actually could be something we introduce on the weekends if it's viable.
Because they don't have too much of an issue during the week. It's the weekend.
Right.
Deirdre Martin.
I think this is awesome. I'm really excited, and I was glad to see that bump up in ridership when you did all those ads. I loved the half-page ads that you did in the Tribune, and all of the marketing was key. My babysitter rides the Flex bus, so I'm interested. I feel like I have a couple questions for her. And my first question is, are the rates going to be different?
Nope, they'll be exactly the same.
Okay. Is there still going to be a cash option?
Yep.
Okay. Is there going to be preference to someone who is using an app versus somebody who uses a call?
Nope.
Is there a preference to someone who uses a subscription versus somebody who pays cash?
That's all, no, that's all the algorithm. That's all back-end stuff.
I'm just thinking because, I use Uber, and you can't pay cash, right?
Right, yeah.
So what's to say somebody can't, just somebody to think about, you may not have the answer. Somebody, a bunch of kids or adults even, kind of making prank setups, right?
I think that's a real risk. I mean, and our technology partner has said, giving people the option of paying cash with no skin in the game, so to speak, could result in, late cancellations. And I think that's something we need to learn through
Yeah.
this pilot. I think it's really just something, we have to be a little risk tolerant and just say, like, we're going to watch it and we're going to see what happens. But I think that that's something we should learn through
Yeah,
this.
I think that's definitely, one of your key performance indicators, right?
Definitely.
And, because like you said, just for everyone else, if you order an Uber, you're paying for it regardless if you get it or not, right? So sort of like you can kind of prank call a pizza. You can prank call a bus now. So I definitely think that if you want, so we have like the super progressive kids who are riding their bikes and, want to carry their surfboards to the beach and things like that. And then you have the folks who use it for the weekend service to get to the library and to use their computer at the library. So we definitely want to think of that too. And if we can accommodate on the weekends, it would be great. One of my other questions was, you said there was about 6 to 8 minutes of wait time. I love that you did all of that analysis ahead of time. Where are the buses going to wait? I guess the hope is that there is no wait time, but...
Right. I don't know. Honestly, that's a question I have. I was thinking about it because there could be times when the bus isn't picking up passengers and it could just be hanging out at the Lindemar Park and Ride or at McDonald's. That's where the driver goes now, goes to McDonald's and hangs out there when he has his layover time. So I don't know if the algorithm is smart enough to tell the operator, hey, you've got 20 minutes now, but you're going to have a trip over yonder, so stage somewhere close by. I don't really know. Right now, the operator will park at a time point in front of someone's house and just sits there. And I asked him, does anybody ever complain? And he said no. So kind of surprised me.
Okay. Well, it doesn't surprise me because I have a flex bus stop up right up front of my house too. So we don't mind. As a matter of fact, I love seeing who's getting, like if it's being used, right? So how are you going to inform the current riders if there's approximately 50 riders a day?
Yep. So we're working on our outreach plan, but what I can tell you, some of the things we've already talked about are, riding the bus heavily, like the 2 weeks right before the conversion, starting about 1 to 2 months before, on-bus literature, seat drops, posters, signs on the vehicle. We'll have signs posted on the bus stops themselves talking about what's changing. We'll do press releases, we'll put ads in the local paper like we normally would do. And then doing all of the outreach to community centers and whatnot. But yeah, for the bus, for the riders, a lot of the riders are getting on and off at Lindemar, my, limited experience. So I think staging there, having a table there, selecting a few days over a period of time and just having ambassadors out there and just answering questions.
Yeah, because I think you'll get those same 50 people, but the idea is to get another 50 people, right? And I think that the other 50 people are going to be younger kids, and so trying to buy some marketing time on Instagram, Facebook, even Snapchat is going to be key too. Just force that sort of marketing. And then, how long is the pilot going to go for before you sort of pull the plug or say, yeah, let's go?
So it's a year pilot. About 6 months in, so we'll be evaluating it as we go. We're working on our evaluation criteria. Right now, what I did not mention, or I think I loosely mentioned it, our vendor, once they're on board, they'll come in and they'll do a simulation and they'll look at the service area and they will say, this is what you should expect for wait times and time on the vehicle and distance and this and that. So we'll have some things to benchmark ourselves against. And we'll also be looking at ridership and paratransit trips and cancellation rates and all of those things. But that all being said, my goal, I hope it's a success, would be to start to write the RFP to procure the permanent technology solution at least 6 months into the pilot so that we could have a seamless transition because it takes about 6 months for an RFP to work its way through Samtrans. So that's my plan.
So will we see you back here 6 months after?
You
maybe?
probably will see me more often than you would like.
Okay, cool.
if you
No, we
want to.
would love it. I'm going to be your biggest cheerleader if this
Great.
thing works out. So 2 other questions. Well, one is just a comment. I hope your partnership is somebody really awesome.
Very awesome.
I was suspecting that. And then the last comment I have is just to make sure in Pacifica, we have some zones with limited coverage. So whatever technology you're using, please check our cell towers.
Definitely. That was already mentioned.
Awesome.
Appreciate that.
That's all I have. Thanks so much. I look forward to it.
Mike O'Neill.
Hi, thank you for coming. It looks like it would be good. I know my mother-in-law uses the Flex, but so it is just going to be the route that you had on that slide, right? Okay, so they won't be able to go to North Pacifica or anything like
It would
that?
just be in the zone area,
Okay.
like the Flex operates today. Yeah.
Now, you had mentioned that it was real flexible and could be adaptive and stuff. Is there any way you could adapt them so like on weekends, maybe the seniors can call up when they want to go to church or whatever? Or like when school lets out at Ortega, that the bus can be there and take them up to the Boys and Girls Club, so that those different pockets of high traffic use at one point, or even on weekends. I know it was kind of a disaster, the Devil's Slide shuttle, but on weekends, could you, if you incorporated, is it possible to kind of customize routes?
Yeah,
with
like a
that?
weekend zone versus a weekday zone. I mean, I think it all gets to how do you communicate that to your riders, right? And the more, intricate and different you make it, the more difficult it is. But I know that there's very different travel patterns, weekday and weekend out here. So, like I said, this right now is just for weekday. But I think, I'd like to think that anything is on the table. For if we were to expand to weekends, I think that we would look at where people are going and where the service is needed.
Okay, thank you.
Sue DeGree.
So going back to the Flex, does the Flex do weekends? I don't remember.
Does not.
Okay. So, and then many years before the Devil Slide, there was a great survey which ended up in a Samtrans Gold Shuttle here, which catered to Friday evening, Saturday all day through 10 p.m., and Sunday through at least 6. That was very, very successful. That was a survey done within town, and those are the results that created that. So as mentioned by everybody, that would be a very helpful for many people. Your marketing, again, what we've noticed here is that heavy-duty marketing is very, very essential. And so what time does the bus schedule stop at right now, First
It
Flex?
starts at 6:15. I think the last trip finishes around 7 p.m., so we would be keeping those parameters, really not trying to change a whole lot, so we can try to get at that before and after behavior.
Okay, so I would really urge, as everybody did, that weekend part, because I think that's going to be a major thing for getting more people.
Okay.
Thank you very much for listening to the community. We've been wanting flexes in 3 different sections of the town.
Thank you.
Mike?
It kind of brings up is there any sort of thresholds that if the Flex hits a threshold that you might look to go into North Pacifica or running something north to South Pacifica?
So we haven't set those metrics yet. I think the challenge is we can make the zone as big as you want. It's just going to mean the bus is going to take a long time to pick people up because we only have one vehicle right now. So I think that if we're learning that through the pilot period that there are a lot of short trips being taken and maybe there's some time in the schedule, I think that I would be open to looking at expanding the zone. We talked about Rockaway Beach as potentially an area that we could expand to. So I would say I don't have an answer for you yet, but I'd like to, and I'm happy to come back and give you an update once it gets going. But I think, we don't want people to have to wait. We want it to be quick, right? We don't want people to have to wait an hour. So how we draw the lines of the zone is important. Also, how many vehicles we have, which is the big driver of cost for us,
Right.
is important.
So you don't look at it as this possibly being a feeder line to a bus that goes up and down Highway 1?
Oh, most definitely, especially at Linda Mar, or at the stops right on Highway 1. Yeah, absolutely. I think transferring, if we see an increase in people transferring, I think that's a huge indicator of success.
And so then you would consider going to the north end of town?
Yeah, we would just need to look at how the service is operating. I wouldn't recommend extending something at the detriment to existing riders. That's all I'd like, that's just kind of my gut.
Okay, well, thank you.
Okay, no more questions from council? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Next is the consent calendar. And so we have number 5 and number 7 are requested to be pulled. And we have comments from the public on number 5, number 8, number 9, and number 11.
I would say 7, too.
And 7 also, yeah. So, just a second, and let's see what's left here. Okay, so do I have a motion for numbers 1 through 4, 6, 10, 12, and 13?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, please vote. Okay, and those pass 5-0. On number 5, do we have a staff report on that? Or,
I can make a comment first. That's why I pulled it.
okay,
I pulled it because I had a couple questions about paving streets in the city of Pacifica that while we're in the middle or just kicked off a bike and pedestrian study. And I just wanted to make sure that we're not paving streets and having to go back and bike lane them. So is there anything we can do now or while that's happening if we know that, we're going to need it anyway? And I asked the city manager to maybe make a comment about that.
Yeah, sure. I will provide some clarification, and then Public Works Director Ocampo is here to add on if I missed anything. The contracts that are here on the agenda, or at least number 5, is for 2 different paving projects. One on Lindemar from Adobe to Alicante, and then the other one that's on, or the other part of that contract is on Oceana. And the question that Councilmember Martin was pointing out is that combined with the other contract, item 6 on the agenda, is to pave all of Lindemar from Adobe to Odstad. And will bike lanes be striped on that road? As you know, we have a bike pedestrian master plan that's kicking off now. And the answer to the question is that the contracts have add-on scope items to do bike lane striping, and before the contractor is at the point in the project when they would be finishing up and striping the new paving, the initial results from the bike pedestrian plan study will be in, and that will inform the feasibility of bike access on the portion of Lindemar from Adobe to Highway 1, and that will inform the type of bike pedestrian striping that can then be provided on the eastern portion of that. So sort of a long way to say that these contracts have the flexibility to do that bike lane striping, but staff is recommending that we get the results of the study first before making the decision about that contract item.
But can I ask a question for Director Campo? Is there a good chance that we may get a bike lane painted at least from Adobe back to Odstad? Because we know that Adobe forward to Highway 1 has specific traffic patterns, but potentially Adobe back to Odstad would at least get a bike lane for this paving project?
The timing, okay. Good evening, Honorable Mayor. Bano Campo, Director of Public Works. The timing is in such a way that that study will be completed, so at the time that we are ready to stripe. So it really doesn't hamper any of the sequence. It's going to be done, in a way that by the time we're striping, we're already, at the point that we have the results of the study.
So there's a good chance we'll get a bike lane at the same time for
That is
Adobe
correct.
back.
Yeah.
Thank you. And that's just for that portion. We're doing what we can.
Right,
That's all we can do.
okay.
Pay attention.
And I have one card for public comment from Bridget Duffy.
Hi, Honorable Mayor, thank you, and honorable council members, you know who you are. Thank you for being here, and thank you so much, Deirdre, for bringing that up and being astute. I value that so much as a representative of mine, thank you. I just want to put a plug in for, once again, we're operating off of a city plan that was conceived decades into the last, a couple of decades into the last century. And we have new information, we have new technologies, we have new ways of looking at city planning. They're flourishing all over the country and the world because we're facing a global crisis and we have to act. So I plead with my government to look at the spending that we're doing, take a bigger picture of where we want to go, make a plan, and one at a time do that plan. And I'm not saying, God forgive me for not wanting to fill a couple of potholes, but I know senior citizens that put their lives on the line a couple of times a day to go have lunch on Crespi. It's like, we got money? Can we spend it on something that might save somebody's life, save somebody a hip operation? You know what I mean? We have children walking in unsafe places to school, not well-lighted places. We have a public works department, which is a mighty, mighty force. We have money behind that public works department. Why are our public works department not working with a plan that might lower carbons, that might make our city streets work for us? For one thing, there's paving material that works as solar panels. You could power Pacifica with a paving job of this magnitude with a pavement material that will actually generate electricity. These are the kind of ideas that we have the opportunity as a city that has procrastinated for 40 freaking years, that we could now, at this tipping point on planet Earth, we could be fucking heroes, excuse my language. We could be heroes, every one of us. It doesn't matter what side of the spectrum you're on. We're facing global catastrophe. If we could come up with a few answers, that would be tits, right?
Mike O'Neill, do you have your light on?
I just had a question in terms of, and I might have missed it, but in looking at this, when is the projected start date? Everything I saw said like commencement date, when we give them a commencement.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, City Council, Senior Civil Engineer Raymond Dunginis. Tentatively, we will start the contractor as soon as possible. So there's a few things that needs to be done, like curb ramps, concrete work. So hopefully by next week, we will meet with the contractor, do a pre-construction meeting, and we'll get a schedule going.
Okay. Thank you. Is it possible to send out a press release on this, since this is one of the major things, saying that we're actually paving Lindemore Boulevard?
Yeah, absolutely. I would definitely want to promote it. I think it would be prudent for us to, know a little bit more detail about the schedule, so after
Right.
we meet with the contractor, but yes,
Yeah.
I'll want to.
Connect with Pacifica, Facebook,
Absolutely.
everything. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Let's vote on this item. Do I have a motion for item 5?
So moved.
Okay, please vote.
How did we get off? Because you never...
And item 5 passes 5-0.
No, it's
These things.
We're just talking about the buttons. It's like the buttons got moved or something.
Yeah.
I'm pinching his fingers.
Okay. Item 7, approval of the license agreement for the Ocean Shore Railroad car and the Pacifica Historical Society. And Sue, you wanted to pull this?
Right, so what I know about the renovation of this fabulous car that we were fortunate to get is it's a work in progress. It's kind of artistic as well, and it can be part of our economic engine, and I realize there's needs, but I'm trying to suggest that we need to pay a little bit more attention to Car 1409 because it's paying attention to our local history, and it reminds me of the time when the Little Brown Church, which is extremely functional right now, we as a city said, okay, let's give the really small little lease because we're in no big hurry to use that property, and you know, they have great heart and great soul, these Pacifica historical folks, and so let's be respectful and at least give them that much. Well, look at what they have achieved, and in a very record amount of time, actually. So looking at what a group of very dedicated fellow citizens can do with raising money, with hard work, and then getting an actual Ocean Shore Railroad car, functional, not a replica, the 1409, and what they've done already and what they did to get it here, and it's on public property. 1 year is really not much time. So they're happy to take the 1 year. Nobody's sending me to do this conversation, so I don't want anything like they picked me to come and be the spokesman. They didn't. I just feel in a way that we're too functional, too performing, too matter of fact. Well, okay, we may need that pad and we might need it soon. Could we dig a little deeper and say, does it have to be on the pad? Could it be in the parking lot? Can we actually give it more than a year and give a little bit more thought and dedication to something as serious as this? Because the track record has already been there. There was a nothing. It was a mess, the Little Brown Church. And it is a functioning coastside museum, and it has wonderful aspects of our unique and uncomparable history that this city has. So I'm urging us to go a little slower on this. And I know we're busy. We have erosion, we have this, we have that, we have potholes, we have great designs and hopes for big developments that'll bring in money. But this is us. This is our history, the county's history, the state's history, and the nation's history. And if we actually used it with a little bit more gusto and planning, along with the Historical Society and the rest of the volunteers, that we would actually be getting money from foot traffic coming in here. We're just not coordinated. I just think we need a coordination. I don't know if that's something we should suggest to the Economic Development Committee to focus on that as well as on big deals here. I mean, I've been here 16 years and we've had big deals for this. And I would have to say on the part of the city, don't think that the city hasn't tried to do something here. They actually have, including tours, bringing in commercial developers here to tour, marketing, that have been done, and still it sits here with nothing. If we had spent a little more time on our history and our culture and our art, those are destinations that are happening now. We just are not capitalizing on the low-hanging fruit. So I'm asking you maybe to put it off for the next meeting or to determined to do a little more than we're doing now. I'm just so afraid that all that hard work, the Little Brown Church is there, you can't move it. So we're already benefiting from that. The railroad car, we could just let sit there and say, well, hopefully they'll get it done. But when they do, what do we do with it? Where's it going? That's a huge issue that's going to take a city to think about. So I'll stop chattering now.
Thank you, Sue. I have 2 speaker cards. Deidre Kennedy, followed by Lori Goldberg.
Good evening. Thank you very much, Sue. That was most appreciated. My name is Deidre Kennedy, and I've called Pacifica my hometown since 1954. I began with the Historical Society and as a project with my mom, and we wanted to give back to the community in a small way. We began with the Ocean Shore Railroad car, picking weeds, because as we know, the weeds of today are the fire hazard of tomorrow. And to rest your minds, we've also increased our insurance on the car because it is over 100 years old, and it is made of wood. I promised you a month ago when I was here that I would give you an update. We had a beautiful meeting with many, many people that came, some as far away as Santa Rosa. John Schmalley brought a map of 1928 coastside that showed the Ocean Shore Railroad remains and how it became Highway 1. Before we had Highway 1, we had the Ocean Shore Railroad. And when it went out of business, the tracks were removed, the surface was paved over. It took about 5 years, and that became Highway 1. So now we're faced with, what are we going to do after we spend a year restoring the car? Thanks to Carl Baldwin and Eileen Baldwin, they've made a most generous donation, and we are ready to sign our contractors now and begin the work that needs to be done to complete the car. And so please think about where this should go. We'd like it close by the Little Brown Church, the Pacifica Coastside Museum, because we would have one administration and 2 sites. It would make things much easier. We already have a telephone number, 650-355-1409. And so we're all ready. Yes. And so my 30 years with AT&T was worth something there. So I just, again, please give us your consideration on where an excellent place for this car would be. And it doesn't have to be there forever either. We are able to move it because it is not a functioning car as far as trucks and tracks are concerned. We are able to pick it up and move it so someplace for a while and then maybe a permanent location later. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Deirdre. Lori Goldberg, followed by Bridget Duffy.
Thank you, Sue, for bringing that up, because I didn't really think about that, but part of our history is trains, and so I think it would be a great idea to have a place for that train that is being fixed up. It would be really great. I don't know if it'd be nice to have it by the Little Brown Church. I like our little museum that we have now. And I really hope that they do get to finish their project and they get a good place for it. I think it would bring people in, and I think people would like seeing it and enjoy the history of, it'd be interesting to talk more about the history, like the Valmar Station used to be a train station. Over in Pedro Point, there's a house now that used to be a train station. I love going to, I know we're never gonna have anything like this, but I love going to Sacramento. They have a wonderful train museum. Maybe connecting that with the history of there and here or whatever, but I wish I could have been around when when our train actually went along the coast. I would have loved to have taken it. And people putting and doing hard work together. A long time ago, I volunteered, I don't have kids, but I volunteered to help build a play area in Frontierland Park. A group of us got together, and for 3 days, we went out there every day for long hours, but it was such a wonderful experience. And we donated our time, and sometimes I go back to that park, and it is a beautiful, really beautiful park. I think this train could be another beautiful part of Pacifica. Like you said, Sue, there are other issues going on in Pacifica, but our history is a really important part also. So I hope they do keep working on it and they find a good spot for it and that people will get to enjoy it.
Thank you, Lori. Bridget Duffy.
On the other hand, I am deeply, hope I don't start crying. I am deeply ashamed of the railroad. I'm deeply ashamed of the destruction that railroad wrought across the country in the form of the tribes that lived here and in the Chinese people who were literally enslaved by the railroad. The white man came to this area and pretty much ended whatever remnant was left, kind of like the renters of Pacifica right now, the little remnant that's left of people that grew up here that have to live in vans. Those people, yeah, kind of like that when the railroad arrived and they ended the Ohlone here. So in my opinion, if you would like to honor our history as a land, maybe you should think about honoring those treaties that we signed with the Ohlone before we annihilated them and sent them away. Maybe we should use the railroad car, since it's our town, our city, our street, our car. Maybe we should turn it into bunks for the winter so our neighbors don't have to sleep in the cold and rain because of your unwillingness to deal with, the New York Times just came out with a new UN science report that says the homelessness in the Bay Area, and you can very much so Google this, is a civil rights violation. It's a humanitarian crisis. They are comparing our area with our amount of people living in filth in the streets because of the rents, while the real estate industry holds off on rentals. What? And you're still not willing to act? What is going on here? We're honoring the railroad. We're letting that car sit empty for 2 years while we at the same time won't afford people their rights to a home. This is ridiculous. And to me, it's outrageous. It's 2018. We made some mistakes. It's time to make reparations. And maybe one of them is just stop honoring a time period in the United States where we should really be ashamed of it.
Okay. Have no further comment from,
I support the railroad. My father worked for the railroad his entire career, and I also work in logistics, so we do a lot of rail transport, and I fully support it. And I second everything that Sue Degree says, and I think it's wonderful that we're offering a lease here for a very low amount for 1 year, but I also encourage the city to start to try to think creatively how we can find a space for this. And I encourage our economic development manager to get with the Historical Society. I think they're already meeting and talking, hopefully they are, to try to work out a plan for this. And I feel dedicated to trying to make that happen as well. Thanks.
okay. Do I have a motion for item number 7?
Make a motion for at least for the 1 year at the very least.
Second.
So just to be clear, that motion is for item number 7 as written?
I would like to extend it, but I know the Historical Society's grateful to have the year. They need the year for sure.
Okay. Please vote.
John, I had my light on.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No problem.
Mike, hold your vote.
I just had a question for staff, or I guess city manager. I don't think I've ever seen because in the staff report, it's mentioning that this is that where the railroad car is sitting now is the foundation for a new office building and also a shelter or cover garage for the VACCON building truck we just bought, right?
Correct.
Okay. Now, a truck, if I remember right, was a couple $100,000 off the top of my head, I think.
Correct. I think
I don't need an exact
Public Works
amount. It was
represented, but
it was
yes.
a chunk of change.
350?
It's about 360, 380,000.
380,000. Okay. So I don't think I've ever, have we signed any documents or plans? When is that going to start construction, that building?
the pad at the treatment plant that currently sits there, there's not a specific design yet. We're evaluating facility needs. We've shuffled the current storage location for the rail car around, working with the Historical Society to allow space for some temporary office buildings that we need there, as well as temporary storage for the VACCON. And those are the short-term immediate needs. Our office longer-term needs, as well as permanent indoor storage for expensive equipment such as the VACCON, is part of our planning phase that we're in now. And to encumber that site for kind of some indefinite period is not a recommendation that we'd like to make, because we may need that space.
Okay, but as of now, we're in the process of developing the plan, right? And the design. And when is that going to be implemented? In what, 6 months? But your completion date for the plan and out to bid and everything is going to be what, 6 to 9 months?
I don't have a specific timeline, and I can turn it over to Public Works Director Ocampo to speak more to
It
that.
will be around that area, close to about a year, for the plans and specs to be completed.
Okay, and then at that point, and then will it have to go to the Coastal Commission?
During the process itself, we will be consulting with the agencies as we go along. That's part of the project,
What I'm getting at is, if we're not going to put a shovel in the ground for a year and a half or 2 years, is it possible to do something like 6 months now, and then we look at our status and give them another year after, so a total of 18 months? Would that be feasible? Well, because I know we need to meet, that was an expensive piece of equipment that needs shelter.
That is correct, and we have 2 of them.
Right, okay. And what I'm getting at is, I don't know if we really want to, personally, I don't want to kick them out and then have it sit there vacant for 6 months or 9 months or whatever while we're getting approvals and everything else. Do you follow what I'm saying?
I understand.
And what do you think is a reasonable amount of time when we're going to be shovel-ready to build that building?
If I could interject there, because there's a difference between our short-term needs, which are pretty immediate now, where we can use that entire pad for storage of equipment to get it at least partially out of the elements. And any kind of permanent facility there is the longer-term need. Certainly, we're working with the Historical Society, and the year-long term, when I met with them, and the money that they have donated met their timeline. And so we have the need now for that pad, for interim storage of our equipment. And if in the future, we're not meeting that timeline, and the Historical Society might need more time, that doesn't affect the 1-year term of this agreement. It can be revisited, but we need, the agreement expired 2 years ago, and the rail car has been on the site for 5 years. So we need a workable plan that meets both of our needs, and this was what we arrived at with the Historical Society. And again, going back, we do have immediate needs. If the site were, if the rail car were not there, we'd be using the entire pad.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So,
Sue Degree.
So since we're discussing this, so my point, again, like I said, nobody put me up to this. This is me. I certainly respect the need to protect our expensive vehicles. I'm pushing the city to be more broad-minded in incorporating our history, and this is one avenues of it, into revenue making so that we are a sustainable city. So, as I said, the Historical Society is happy with what's in here. I'm using this as a stir-it-up opportunity.
Yeah. Let me respond to that, because that's sort of the second half of the rail car issue, and our Economic Development Manager, Thomas Myers, is working with the Historical Society. When I spoke with the Historical Society, in terms of the ultimate disposition and location of the rail car, I let the Historical Society know that we're beginning the West Sharp Park specific planning process to encourage them to get involved in that process, and as well as encourage the Historical Society to be seeking private sector partners for funding. Their interest is that the rail car should be stored indoors when it's complete, so that it's out of the elements, and the city doesn't have a facility currently that would accommodate that. This will be an ongoing dialogue, because we are certainly interested in the historical value of the rail car. We've talked about historical tourism and the importance of that in our whole economic development scheme in Pacifica. So it's an ongoing relationship and conversation we want to be having with them. But the rail car restoration and ownership and final destination is not at this point a city project or a city initiative, nor do we have the budget for that.
I'm happy to see that we're on record for a broader scope, so thank you.
I'm all ready to vote. So.
Okay, let's vote.
Before we vote, can we reiterate who the motion and the second, please?
The motion was made by Sue Degree, and the second was made by Sue Vatalos. Was made by, and now please vote. And that passes 5-0. Okay, onward. On item number 8, this is the third amendment to the consultant services agreement for on-call planning and related services between the City of Pacifica and the consulting firm M. Planning and related. I have between the City of Pacifica and the consulting firm M. Planning and related. I have between the City of Pacifica and the consulting firm M. Planning and related. I have between consulting firm M. Planning and related. I have between consulting firm M. Planning and related. I have between consulting firm M. I have 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 consulting firm.
But we would rather build, but we would rather build, but we would rather build home, 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 home. 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 2 years, I guarantee, with a little bit of pressure to the city council, even the new city council, we will have tiny home communities. We will have alternatives.
Excuse me, Bridget, how does this relate to item 8?
Okay, this relates to the consultant fees. The consultant fees, which I come in here all the time, there's always like hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of consultant fees in these papers. I'm like, when you follow a trail to the consultants, what you find is dark money. Again, New York Times article, the Saudi Arabia connection with Silicon Valley. Google it. We are giving money to consultant firms who are implementing ridiculous things like the mess on Palmetto Avenue. And these are also the same people that just publicly trashed our mayor for simply doing his job and allowing rent control to go on the ballot. They promised here in the public record that they would trash him, and they did. This is an affront to our democracy. It's not Trump, it's right here. Our democracy is being undermined by people and influences that are not the citizens of the city. It's clearly unconstitutional.
Okay, before we vote on this, I'd like to ask a question of Tina Wehrmeister.
Evening.
Tina, could you describe what these consultants do in your office? I mean, they're currently working there, and this is an extension contract for them, is it not?
Yes, this particular firm, M Group, both has somebody in our office that augments staff, that helps us get all of our project processing work done. That is paid for by applicants. It's not coming out of the general fund of the city. This firm also does environmental documents, so they may do mitigated negative declarations, EIRs. And so that is partially why this is a larger sum than you may see for others, because of the environmental documents and the technical studies that need to be done. They also provide that service to the city, also paid for by applicants.
Okay, thank you. Sue, did you want to?
No, I was going to make a motion.
Okay, yeah.
I move to approve item 8 on the consent agenda.
Second?
I'll second.
Okay. Deirdre, please vote. And that passes 5-0. Moving on, item 9, notice of completion for the 400 Esplanade Infrastructure Preservation Project Emergency Protective Measure. And have a public comment card from Bridget Duffy.
So we're talking about putting 50,000 to 450,000 into protecting aging, dilapidated infrastructure on Esplanade, an area where we may not be having a lot of sea rise, but we are having a 5-foot erosion at the cliffs a year, I think, for the last 12 years. That's an eroding cliff line. You want to protect, you want to put a lot of our money, our tax money, into protecting aging infrastructure there. It just doesn't make sense, okay? It just doesn't make sense. It has nothing to do, it's the opposite of managed retreat. We have a rising sea. The entire shore may change drastically in the next couple of decades. Wouldn't it make much more sense to take whatever monies we're going to spend on protecting infrastructure that's crumbling on Esplanade to having new infrastructure projects made that are further away from the ocean? Wouldn't that make sense? Wouldn't that bring us into a future that our kids could actually live with and our grandchildren can live with? I mean, why are we putting Band-Aids on things that are so old? You know, that we're thinking of new ways to do things all the time. And anyway, just that's my opinion, and I know it probably isn't going to do anything, but you know, I'm glad I'm here, and I'm glad I'm putting this in the public record, because, you know, there's no excuse for this behavior right now. I came in here 3 years ago. Yeah, maybe people weren't really believing in climate change at the time, but none of us can breathe right now because of a drought that won't end. You know, I'm not making this stuff up. Donald Trump is a dictator, and he's destroying democracy. And if we can't get it back city by city, by people who are elected now, that understand what's at stake here, and who's trying to destroy us, who's really trying to destroy us, because it ain't us, it ain't Sam Carr. Somebody else out there is just trying to destroy us. And as Americans, we should pool together and work together to build a future that we know our grandchildren can live in, period. It's inexcusable not to at this point.
Okay.
Mayor Keener and council members, I'd like to note on the resolution for this item, there was an incorrect meeting date, and I'd like to note the correction to the meeting date to November 13th, 2018 in the resolution.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to ask Van Ocampo to come to the podium and, first of all, just give us a quick overview of what this project was all about. Basically, the item says it's a notice of completion, and so I assume that that would mean that the project is completed.
That is correct.
Can you tell us what the project was for and how much we spent on it?
Right. So the Honorable Mayor, the project is the 400 Esplanade Infrastructure Preservation Project. This is an emergency project that is being funded by FEMA and Cal OES. The rate of reimbursement is 93% and only like 93.75% is being funded by Cal OES and FEMA, and 6.25 is our match for that particular grant. The project is the purpose of the project is to preserve the existing infrastructure, which is the street of Esplanade, as well as the infrastructures that are within it. If you would recall, during the El Nino of 2016, the cove that was forming on the 400 block of Esplanade eroded the existing bluff to a point that it's only about 39 feet from the edge of roadway. This project itself installed rock revetment at that location, whereby it protected the bluff from further erosion, buying us time in order for us to do the permanent fix, which we also are looking for funding through Cal OES. So that's in a nutshell what this project is about. The project was completed, and we would like to record the notice of completion in order for us to be able to release the retention to the contractor.
And what was the overall cost?
So the cost of the project itself is 1.3 million. That's the cost of the construction.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, 1.319.
Okay, great. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Okay. And bear in mind that you have to correct the date in that motion.
Yeah. Can you tell me the date again?
November 30th, 18.
Okay.
November 13th, wasn't it?
Oh,
Yeah, it's just a correction to the meeting date that's
sorry.
referenced in the
Date.
resolution of the 13th November 2018.
Okay. As per city clerk's notation, I would like to make a motion to approve item 9 with the correction from city clerk.
Okay, do I have a second?
second.
Okay, thank you. Please vote. And that passes 5-0. Okay, onward to item 11, and this item is the second reading and adoption of an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance of the City Council of the City of Pacifica amending Article 48 Marijuana Regulations of Chapter 4 of Title 9 of the Pacifica Municipal Code pertaining to processing of marijuana use permits, This is the text amendment TA 112-18, and finding adoption of the ordinance exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act. And this is, as it said above, the second reading. And we have one public comment card on this, and that is Bridget Duffy.
Hello again. As I said when I was running for office, I'm a cannabis enthusiast. When I was 50, I have a crushed vertebrae in my lower spine. I was on a lot of pharmaceutical medications for sleep, for stomach, for pain. My husband started growing marijuana because our health care had been cut, and we had two young Irish twins growing up athletic and constantly, in the hospital. And, injuries from the sports. And so he thought, I'll grow marijuana. And so he started going at it like, the excellent technician he is. And, but he said, we better smoke it or else everybody's going to think we're narcs. So we had to start smoking it. And lo and behold, both of us, no more pharmaceutical pills at all. The pain's gone. I don't have a problem with pain anymore. I don't have a problem with sleeping anymore. It's a flower. You have to light it on fire, actually, and inhale it into your lungs so it doesn't just jump on you like an animal. There hasn't been much research gone into how much good it does us. There's been a lot of research done trying to find what it does that's bad to keep it legal. So we have really no scientific basis on the types of ordinances that are being coming up with by primarily people in law enforcement who just last year were in charge of imprisoning people for this substance. So what I'm saying as a person, a citizen of the city, and as a person who just got 1,000 votes from other 1,000 people in Pacifica, since marijuana has become legal, it has become extremely difficult to get in Pacifica. It is easier to buy a gun in Pacifica than it is to buy a joint right now. And I want to object. I want to object. I know there's not a lot of people here, but I know they feel the same way. I object to this. I think there has not been enough citizen oversight in developing these ordinances and regulations. This is a multi-billion-dollar industry. This is a revenue that is going to save Pacifica's ass. And I absolutely believe that marijuana enthusiasts need a place at the table. People have been working their asses off, risking their lives, going to jail to develop the best bud on planet Earth, California catatonic. And we could make millions with this green revolution, not to mention hemp. You can make everything out of hemp that you make oil out of. We could have a revolution right here with marijuana, but not as long as it's being oversaw by the police department, who still want to make it a legal issue, which it shouldn't be. It's a medicine.
So I'll just ask Tina Wehrmeister to come up and very briefly summarize what this text amendment did. It was, I know, it was a modification of the regulations of the planning department, and I'll let you to take it from there.
That's correct. It was a modification of regulations in the zoning ordinance to clarify the intent of the language and to remove some circular language that an application that continues to be incomplete, and the city council extended to 20 days. After 20 days, would then we would move on to the next application in the lottery.
Okay, thank you.
And my comment was that I voted no originally because I only wanted it to be 10 days and not 20. So I will again vote no because I still believe it should be only 10 days.
Okay. Do I have a motion for item 11?
So moved.
Second?
And a second by Deirdre, and please vote. And that passes 4-1. Okay, on to oral communications. All right. So Lori Goldberg, followed by Brian Holscher, followed by Bridget Duffy.
Hi. I was going to not wear my shirt, but I still feel like it's relevant. It says I can't be bought by Samcar, and on the back it says outside, shoot, I can't remember what my back says. Anyway, outside money should not be allowed, something like that. I know the election's over with, but I talked to a neighbor of mine. She bought her place, her and her husband's dead now, before Pacifica was even incorporated, and she was shocked. She was absolutely shocked by these awful mailers that came out in the mail. And this one says, she said she's never seen anything like this the whole time she's lived in Pacifica. Paid by the California Real Estate Independent Expenditure Committee, California Association of Realtors, Committee for Major Funding from National Association of Realtors. These flyers, someone told me, cost about $8,000 to send out to Pacifica Homes. I can't remember how many came in the mail. Can you imagine all that money, Samcar, the Association of Realtors, all that money that they could do to help our homeless, our people who rent, like Bridget has talked about? It's just disgusting. I've never seen such nasty elections in my life. I hope this doesn't become the new normal, like these fires in California. That's going to be the new normal now. We're going to have fires. We're going to have smoke in our air. This gloomy air reminds me of this awful, gloomy election that we had and the awful smearing of good people. I want to thank John Keener. There's like a couple good people. Well, I'm really sad because we're losing Sue DeGree, who I've really, really always liked. She cares about everyone in Pacifica. Deidre, who cares about everyone in Pacifica. John Keener, who cares about everyone in Pacifica. People that have not been bought by real estate, outside real estate money. I want to thank John Keener because on my electric bill, because he was involved in getting us Peninsula Clean Energy. I didn't have to pay any PG&E bill this month, and I actually get a credit, and that is thanks to John Keener. And he also cared about all the seniors. I'm going to really miss him. I'm going to miss Sue DeGree. Also, Frederick Sherman, I'm really upset with him. This is not his paper. This is the Daily Post. This is a free paper. It doesn't have political comments by the editor, like we do get with Frederick Sherman. Frederick Sherman lives in Novato. Here we have all this out, here we incorporated so we'd have not have outside influences from Daly City and everything incorporating in Pacifica. Now we have Samcar, we have the National Association of Realtors, we have Frederick Sherman, our crappy paper owner, who overrated and overpriced paper, who lives in Novato, interfering with our city. I just can't believe all the outside people involved now. It's just disgusting, and I hope it doesn't continue. I think Pacifica can take care of itself without all these outside real estate people and outside real estate influences and buying people on our city council. It's
Can you
just
wrap it up,
disgusting.
Lori? Thank you. Brian Holscher, followed by Bridget Duffy, followed by GL.
Hello, good evening. Thank you for having me speak up here. Real quick, I would like to ask the council to see if it's possible to dictate to planning to have non-retail cannabis applications permitted or processed. For the, let's see, the ordinance, it says for each applicants, within 30 days of the Planning Commission's issuance of a marijuana use permit, Chief of Police shall issue all permits within 30 days. So once the first permit is issued, within 30 days, the chief is responsible to issue all permits to the other applicants, correct? Is that, I mean, you guys want to know that, sorry. And so what I'm asking is that the council reviews and allows for non-retail cannabis application to be permitted through this process as well for phase 2. That's pretty much it.
We're not allowed to talk during oral
Yeah.
communication.
So I'm new to this, you know. Like, you've seen us up here a couple times, and
Yeah.
we're just trying to figure this out. So I spoke with Christian, and he said, you know, he didn't really say what to do or what not to do, but he said that's possible to change some of the wording to allow new applications to be introduced, you know. So if I could just, I guess, ask for that to be done and follow up in the future. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Brian. Bridget Duffy, followed by Gio, followed by Martin Anaya. Thank you.
I second that. Yes, more permits issued, more applicants allowed to apply. But I'm glad to be here. I'm glad I said everything I said. I can go now. I'd like to stay, but I feel like, you know, I have put a lot of energy out, and nobody's paying me to do any of this. But it's been an incredible experience for me. I have actually learned about democracy just by, you know, a couple of years ago, starting to show up and give my public comment. Now I'm starting to catch my stride, and I'm starting to realize that we can actually push you to do some things. I know you're not going to do them without being pushed. I saw what John went through just putting rent control on the ballot. I could imagine if you guys were ever brave enough to do anything besides just what your job is. Nobody wants to put anybody in that position. But I do believe that the people are starting to wake up. People are starting to realize something has to change. We can't keep letting our money be invested in fossil fuel at this juncture. We can't spend $60 or $80 million on a new library. It's not going to happen. Not at this juncture. Not when we can build a light rail tram up to the Daly City BART that would eliminate all the traffic in our town, eliminate all that carbon. Not when we can build tiny home communities that live off the land, solar, composting toilets. This is the way we can go, and we will go as a city. We are not going to lay down. This election was a farce. I mean, ever since the 2016 elections, somebody besides the people of the United States has been choosing who makes our laws. That is clearly unconstitutional. The people are sovereign here in the United States of America. This ain't the Roman Empire. This ain't the Catholic Church. This is the United States of America, and it's 2018. And democracy dictates that you use our money the way we want it to be spent. And I am not giving up until I see that start happening. And that's my promise to all of you and to Pacifica, unless, of course, I get tied up somewhere else. No, I'm only kidding. It's happening. It's happening everywhere. And as far as the newspaper, we should claim eminent domain over the Tribune, make it a community-run, nonprofit newspaper, because without a free press, democracy cannot exist.
Gio, followed by Martin Anaya. Anaya, followed by Karina and Brian.
I have a question for you. How come you guys never responded to my complaint letter and disbursement for the wheelchair. How come you guys haven't put up any street lights? You only want to do certain areas to make Pacifica look beautiful. What about safety? What about the curb cuts? And if you guys walk away like you guys did last time, you guys are just as guilty. And you know who I'm talking about. What about the curb cuts that are too steep? What about the storm drain over there by Oceana High School that's like 5 inches too deep when you get up on the curb cut to get on the bus? How come there's no street lights over there? Safety first. How come a lot of the things that I had my attorneys do, how come Safeway, the Fairmont Shopping Center, there's no curb cuts? But you guys just did the sidewalk on the side of Safeway on Hickey. And you got curb cuts going all the way up on Gateway to Fairmont Shopping Center. But how do you go and catch the bus? How do I go and go to ceremony? I haven't even seen you guys start where the fishing bowl is to put the sidewalk in and to do the walk-in bridge over where the freeway exit is going over to Manor Shopping Center. That's supposed to be done by January 2nd, 2019. What about the cannabis for over here? I use it all because of you guys, because I have my shoulder replaced. When are you gonna fix the streets on Gateway and get rid of the potholes and fix the Christie boxes where the sidewalks are? All you guys do is care about yourselves. You don't care about the citizens in the community of Pacifica. Go ahead and beat me and turn the mic off. I'll go a cappella like I always do. When are you gonna have the town meeting where you're gonna answer our questions? When are you? You guys just want to be quiet and only do what you want to do. What about the citizens in the community? What about their safety? What about the potholes? What about the curb cuts? In order to make the city look beautiful, you gotta fix it. Why don't you guys do something besides the mural on this sewer building and put up the seawalls?
Okay, Gio, wrap it up.
No, I won't wrap it up. When you guys start doing something, get off your butts. I already spent time in the hospital, and I couldn't do my depositions to get you guys removed with the signatures. We'll see.
See you next time.
I'll still do it.
Okay. Martin Anaya, followed by Karina and Brian.
Mayor Keener, I want to congratulate you on being able to pronounce my name, and thank you for it. Marty Anaya here. Yeah, I know you got a little help from the side there, but thank you guys nonetheless. Marty Anaya, Pacific Coast Television. I come up about twice a year with announcement about an upcoming fundraiser, so this is my obligatory second time this year. And I want to thank you all for participating in our TV red carpet auction in the past. That's coming up this Saturday and Sunday on the 17th and 18th. Saturday night, 5 o'clock to 10 o'clock. Sunday night, 6 o'clock to 11 o'clock. And I got to tell you, 41 years now, this is our 41st year as a nonprofit. One of the things that we have been involved in is digging in a little bit deeper into the history of PCT, which is intricately tied with the history of this town. I hear talk about the railroad car, and I hear talk about all these historical projects of significance to our town and to our region. And I got to tell you that PCT is the oldest community television station in the nation. If you go all the way back to its roots at Oceana High School, and it's just amazing the more I find out about it. So that's one of the things that we're doing. The other thing that we're celebrating this year is the advent of internet radio that is now a complement to the TV station. So I want to invite everybody not only to watch the auction, because we're going to have a lot of wonderful things for bid, and of course it's going to raise money for the TV station, but we also want to encourage people to think about how you might be able to utilize PCT to get your word out, to get your voice heard, and to really further the communications of our city and of our region. So again, thank you guys in the past for the participation. We hope that you'll come again. We want everybody on this council to come. Mike has been the best auctioneer anybody could ever ask for, and Deirdre wasn't too bad a couple years either. If we could get you maybe to come back, any of you, we'd love it. Again, it's happening this weekend, and I've got these little cards and these posters in the back, so please feel free to grab one and give some to some friends if you can before you leave tonight. Thank you so much, and we'll see you this weekend. Take care.
Thank you, Martin. Karina and Brian.
Hi, council members. We simplified our request, you guys and gals. We'd like to amend the current ordinance to allow non-retail applications to be processed immediately, as there is no numerical limitations as long as they're located in the proper zoning. And that's pretty much it.
Okay, thank you. All right, that's it for oral communications. On to council communications. Okay, you go first.
Okay.
Sue
I'm going to be short
Vatlaus.
this time. I went to the Speakeasy Night, which was a fundraiser for Pacificans Care. It was very well attended and packed, and it was a great event. I also spent Saturday, I worked with the Lions, and we planted 4 of the large planters on Palmetto, which was an interesting process, doing the whole thing from down to the bottom, the weed cover, the planting, including the sprinkler system that we put in each planter. It was a lot of time, and it was fun. Thank you.
Okay, who's next? Sue DeGree.
One thing I want to make sure that everybody realizes that City Council has a session on Saturday, and do we start at 10? This is the 17th.
Yes, it's at 10
And do we
o'clock
have an
on
ending
Saturday.
time?
It will be here at council chambers.
I'm sorry?
It will be here at council chambers at 10 o'clock on Saturday. This will be discussing the district elections and the first look at the draft maps that are now available on drawpacifica.org.
Okay, so, and that's drawpacifica.org. For those of us who are not techie, anything we have to do that's techie is a nightmare, believe me. I thought I was going to have a stroke this week. Trying to find things easily and to then try to convey that information to you, the constituents, find one of these techie people, because by the time you get it from me, it'll probably be 9:30 on Saturday morning. But this is very, very important. This is something that is imposed upon the city of Pacifica, and we are to take the city of Pacifica and recreate ourselves into 5 separate districts. So how do we do that fairly? The thing that is stressing me is being able to reach all of you, to make sure that we hear from you, and to reach you in such a manner as you have the time and ability to get together to talk to those in your neighborhoods to determine what would be a reasonable district for you. So in the future, you will be choosing a council member from your district, okay? And so I think we're rugged individualists who care about our community, and we want to know what's going on. So I would hate for you to wake up one morning, I think our final vote is December 17th, is it? December 17th, and read about it in the newspaper and realize that you weren't part of the process. So it's very concerning to me that the word gets out and that you do participate. So Saturday at 10 o'clock, we will be dealing with this. There are maps on drawpacifica.org. For me, I have to get them, make sure they're printed, and put them on a wall next to each other and think. So there's several that have been proposed by the mapping consultant, is that correct?
There are 3 draft maps proposed by the mapping consultant, and
And 2
there are
from
a
some
couple
others.
that are from the public as well.
And then there are a couple that are already done by some members of the public. So I do encourage you to please spread the word and get as involved as possible, because we're under a mandate that we have to do this and have to have it done. And like I said, the final vote will be December 17th. So there's a lot of work. And for us to be sane about it, we really need you to participate. So there was a memorial for one of our very active and contributory residents, citizens, was Anna Booth. And I'm very happy and pleased with those who put that together. It was very fitting for someone who has saved our pier herself with Andy, fisherman, and what do you call it, crab fisherman, and those of Preserve Our Pier. Set up poetry. If you go into the library and you go up the steps there's the first city poet, and we need to put up the photograph of the second present city poet. And she did other things too besides those, but those are some major things. At one time, the pier was considered something worth going down into the, just let it go. And because of grassroots activities like Anna, we have a pier, and that is free international marketing through fishing magazines. So I think I will stop there. Thank you.
Okay, Mike O'Neill.
Let's see, since last council meeting, I attended the labor unions Meet Your Elected Rep, and that's always kind of fun because there's a lot of representatives, at the state level, representatives from Jackie Spear and the city and the county level. Also attended the Economic Development Commission and the Economic Development Committee and the Beautification Committee, and keep December 8th open because we're going to have the ribbon cutting or dedication for the Sanchez Art Center garden. Then we're going to have it, that's at 10, then at 11 o'clock, the dedication for, hold on, I got to pull it up because it's 3 events in one day. Let's see. December 8th, the Sanchez Arts dedication, then the Oceana mural dedication right there by Mazzetti's and Ace Hardware that was worked on by Ocean Shore School and the Rotary. And then we're also going to have at 12 noon, the Palmetto landscape dedication is going to be there. So mark your calendars, that's December 8th from 10, and then another one at 11, another one at 12. And also I'm on the library JPA for the county, and I'm happy to report that the library JPA board unanimously approved the model for Sanchez Art Center to have the automated library back there. So that was, and then they're actually looking at this as a possible model for other areas to expand service in San Mateo County. And then also December 2nd is the tree lighting ceremony at Rockaway Beach. And I think December 1st is the City of Pacifica's tree lighting at the community center. So busy time of year, and happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Next week.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Deirdre Martin.
So I serve on CCAG, which is the City and County Association of Governments Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee. And we had a presentation 2 weeks ago from Samtrans, and they are also undergoing a bike and pedestrian update, plan update. So we are all asked to participate in that. I'll keep you posted, and I know they're going to be doing some marketing as well, but please keep your eyes peeled for any opportunity to provide feedback, not just in Pacifica, but in all of San Mateo County. I know there's a lot of Pacificans that wish they could get to their job in San Mateo via a bicycle or, by multiple modes of transportation, but bicycle and pedestrian areas help out with that. So, so please keep your eyes peeled for that, to be an active participant in that. And I'll do my best to keep you posted as well. And just a quick report, we had our Sharp Park monthly cleanup here, and even with the smoke, we had upwards of 20 volunteers here at Sharp Park to clean up. There wasn't much to clean up because Facebook had a what we call a Give Back Day. The Beach Coalition calls it a Give Back Day, where they come and they clean up. And Facebook, usually what they do is they go to one of our local restaurants and spend their money there. But this group actually Airbnb'd a house, and Facebook catered their lunch for a couple hours. So this is just information for you to know that this is happening in our community. The Beach Coalition is bringing them in, having them clean our beaches, and they're also spending their money here, and we will be getting revenue from that because of Airbnb tax that we will be collecting soon. So, and also one volunteer brought masks to give out to everyone so they could protect themselves from the smoky air. I thought that was pretty interesting. And then just a quick update from the Beach Coalition. To date, we've had 14,000 volunteers for beach cleanup and native plant restoration activities, and that equates to 28,000 volunteer hours that have been given back to the City of Pacifica. So hats off to them, and also to the City of Pacifica for helping with all of that. That's my update.
Thank you, Deirdre. Sue.
I meant to find out about the road closure. Is somebody able to tell us about the road closure? I think it's this week sometime for a couple days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kevin? Yeah.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, I'm going from memory here, but I believe that tonight and tomorrow night,
That's right.
Highway 1 is going to be closed for the, I think it's for the pedestrian overcrossing construction, and if anyone from Public Works can correct those details, but at least the signs, I believe, say for tonight, 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. and tomorrow night.
Yeah.
Okay, so tonight and tomorrow night from 10 p.m. to 6
Why don't we, I see Director Ocampo back there looking up the press release information about that, and
Yeah.
in a couple minutes, why don't we clarify that?
Because it'll be pretty clear about what do you do when you need to go somewhere?
Yes. It's a detour.
It's a detour
and so
on Francisco and Oceana,
Francisco
I
and
believe.
Oceana.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just be prepared for that, because it's kind of dark out there.
Yeah,
When we can find, we'll confirm that it's tonight and tomorrow night, I believe.
it is.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Okay, let's see. I attended the Congestion Management and Environmental Quality meeting of CCAG, the Peninsula Clean Energy meeting, North County Mayor's meeting, the interviews that we had for that we'll consider applicants later on tonight for openings in various committees and commissions. The State of the County address by Dave Pine, and the Harvest Baskets, which is a food giveaway organized by the Pacifica Resource Center, And that is how I know those 4 veterans that were here to present the colors and lead the Pledge of Allegiance. And finally, I also attended the demonstration against Trump appointing the acting Attorney General. And so with that, we'll move on to staff communications.
Thank you, Mayor Keener and council members. Kevin Woodhouse, City Manager. Just a couple brief comments. I want to thank Councilmember Degree for mentioning this Saturday's districting meeting. I was going to reiterate that. Again, it's the 3rd public hearing in this process for the council to consider this change to district elections, and the first public meeting where maps will be discussed, and it's from 10 to noon here in the council chambers this Saturday. Additionally, on Monday night, the 19th, the Planning Commission will be providing input on the draft sea level rise adaptation policies, and that's a meeting that's going to begin at 6 p.m. here in the council chambers. Finally, my last comment is that, as everyone has noticed, here in the council chambers we have new energy efficient LED lighting. One of the side effects of the LED lighting is that they give off less heat. And apologize for the coolness in the room tonight, but we're in the process of installing a heater in the council chambers, and it should be installed and effective before the December 10th City Council meeting. And that completes my comments.
Thank you. All right. Okay, you want a break? All right, we'll take a break for 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll recess for 5 minutes.
Somebody gone. Nothing Thursday.
Okay.
I think it was.
Okay. So it's not this Thursday.
No.
Hi, Mike.
Hey, Mike, how are you?
Oh, there's a Thursday, there's a women's leadership in Pacifica.
Yeah, congratulations. Glad we're still working with you.
Thank you.
Pacifica. And if it's acceptable for some reason to the city attorney. Mike? Okay, we're back in session. So next, we have a public hearing, and this is consideration of an appeal of the Planning Commission's approval of a marijuana use permit. It's MUP-1-18. Can I have a staff report, please?
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and Council members. I am Senior Planner Christian Murdoch. Prior to this evening's hearing, staff received correspondence from the applicant, which the city clerk has distributed to each of the council members. The Planning Commission conditionally approved the subject permit, marijuana use permit MUP-1-18, on October 1st, 2018. The permit would allow the applicant, Lit LLC, to operate what is known in the city's zoning regulations as a marijuana retail operation. A marijuana retail operation is one of 3 types of commercial cannabis activities which may be permitted in Pacifica, the others being a marijuana testing operation and a marijuana manufacturing operation. The applicant would sell cannabis products for medical and non-medical use within an existing commercial space. The Planning Commission approved the subject permit in a manner overall consistent with staff's recommendations, with one modification to require the first annual review of the marijuana retail operation be conducted at the Planning Commission rather than at the staff level. Following the Planning Commission's approval, the appellant filed an appeal on October 11th, 2018. The appeal raised 4 issues in objection to the Planning Commission's action to approve the marijuana use permit. The issues generally related to deadlines for processing of the marijuana use permit application and matters related to prior operation of an unpermitted cannabis dispensary by one member of the Limited Liability Company, or LLC, which is the applicant for the subject permit. The appellant contends that on the basis of these issues, the Planning Commission either should not have considered the application or otherwise should have denied the application for failure to comply with Pacifica Municipal Code requirements. The staff report identifies each of the 4 issues raised by the appellant and provides staff's detailed response to each of them. For the reasons stated in the staff report, staff believes that it correctly interpreted the Pacifica Municipal Code in processing of the subject application, that the applicant complied with all applicable timelines and deadlines contained in the Pacifica Municipal Code, and that the Planning Commission correctly weighed and considered all evidence in the record before it, and ultimately made the necessary findings for approval of the subject application. Thus, staff recommends that the City Council adopt the attached resolution to deny the appeal and uphold the Planning Commission's approval of marijuana use permit MUP-1-18. I'm available to answer any questions the council may have. Thank you.
Are there any questions from council? I have one. Regarding the review after 1 year by the Planning Commission instead of staff, is this also done for the other approved cannabis outlet?
Yes, that condition of approval is identical for marijuana use permit MUP-4-18, which was the first to be approved.
Okay, that it'll be reviewed by the Planning Commission after a year?
Correct.
Okay. No further questions? Okay.
I said quick.
Yes.
On the document that was left on the desk here, they're also asking would respectfully request to be allowed to operate from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Is that the same hours as from the previous appeal?
The prior marijuana operation, the Fog Center LLC, the city council approved 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. for that operation.
Okay, so is there anything in the code as to what the hours are?
There are outer limits. It would take me a moment to find them, but these are well within the outer bounds of the municipal code limitation.
Okay, so it's just their preference, 9 to 9 then?
That's correct. And the applicant will have an opportunity to speak this evening as well, and so you may be able to ask further questions if you have any.
Yeah. Okay.
Wait till this is over.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry? Yeah, that's right, yeah. So I'll open the public hearing, and we'll first hear from the appellant. And the appellant, who is Zollinger. I'm sorry, I've forgotten his.
Zollinger.
Adam Zollinger.
Adam Zollinger. You have 10 minutes,
Thank you.
starting now.
At the outset, I would like to just let the city council know that on 10/21, we submitted various public records requests. Those requests were received or acknowledged as being received by the city on October 22nd. Thereafter, the city requested additional time to determine what documents they would be producing and to submit a response. That response is currently due November 15th. And since we don't have the benefit of all the documents that we sought to review in preparation for tonight's hearing, we requested that this hearing be continued until such time that those documents would be produced and that we would have an opportunity to review them, and so all of you would have the opportunity to review them as well. We also, as part of that, offered to provide an extension of time to the city to comply because we understood that our requests were quite voluminous. However, our offer was rejected and our request for a continuance was also rejected. So I bring that up to tell you that we're dealing with incomplete information tonight, so we're doing the best we can with what we have. And as such, we request that the city's impending response and any documents that are produced be considered part of this evening's record. Tonight, we're asking the city of Pacifica not to...
Excuse me, by the way, could you state your names for the...
Absolutely. My name is Crystal Matter.
Adam Zollinger.
Okay, thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
No problem. Tonight, we're asking the city of Pacifica not to trade what is important for what is immediate. We all struggle with temptation, the desire to meet an illegitimate need, or the desire to meet a legitimate need let me start this over. We all struggle with temptation, the desire to meet a legitimate need. Sometimes we do so in an illegitimate way, and that is temptation. What is important is that every decision that we make with integrity, always. Every day we are called upon to do the right thing as parents, spouses, employees, bosses, friends, and citizens. And we must make decisions based on our values and our integrity because there is always more at stake than our immediate decision. And the same goes for your decision this evening. Appellant requests that the City Council deny applicant's marijuana use permit on grounds that the applicant has repeatedly failed to follow local and state laws. However, if this council is inclined to grant the applicant's marijuana use permit in the face of these repeated violations, appellant simply requests that the City Council allow one more marijuana use permit in Sharp Park. That would allow Adam to be, who is the only applicant left to have his application process. That would give him the opportunity to open up a business here in Sharp Park. This is the right thing to do. In furtherance of a complete record, appellant reiterates the following arguments that were made during the October 22nd Fog Center appeal as they apply here. First, the City of Pacifica changed the qualifications for participating in the Phase 3 lottery the day before Phase 3 applications were due. And that change removed any obligation by the Planning Department to review applications for completeness for purposes of ensuring that each application contained the required components. As a result of this change, more applicants were allowed to participate than met application requirements. Additionally, applicants who were operating illegally, not without permits, they were operating illegally, or had been were operating illegally within the city limits, they were allowed to participate in this lottery. Specifically, applicant Lit was allowed to submit applications for 7 of 12 available spots. The result was that the city rewarded applicants who failed to follow the laws and prejudiced those who did follow the laws. Next, following the lottery, the city failed to adhere to its own deadlines and rules applicable to processing applications. Specifically, the city failed to adhere to its own rule requiring that an applicant whose marijuana use permit was being processed and whose application was deemed incomplete was notified and given 10 days to complete their application. The applicant received a 10-day notice of extension and failed to complete the application within 10 days. Instead, he was given over 90 days to complete his application. This prejudiced the appellant that was next in line, whose application should have been started being processed on the 11th day after the extension period ran. Now, as to the substance of the allegations that pertain to Lit and not the arguments that the city didn't comply with its own rules, the applicant's marijuana use permit should be denied for the following reasons. First, the applicant failed to comply with the application requirements by submitting all required components and information at the time the application was due. Second, the applicant did not comply with the 10-day extension deadline after being notified that the application was incomplete. As stated before, he took over 90 days. That is over 2 times as long as the Fog Center application, whose permit was approved by the City Council on October 22nd. Third, the appellant failed to comply with his tax obligations, which was a requirement as part of the marijuana use permit application and is a state law as well. And lastly, the applicant operated an illegal dispensary in Pacifica from at least, I thought it was July 2017 to July 2018, but according to documents back there, it was even March of 2017 to July of 2018. Now, with my remaining time, I wish to identify the dangers associated with giving marijuana use permits to applicants who the city knows have repeatedly demonstrated an inability to comply with the laws. The applicant's violations of the law go far beyond failing to comply with procedural deadlines associated with marijuana use permits. The applicant operated an illegal dispensary within city limits prior to and during the marijuana use permit application period. And if ever there was a time for you to look your best, it is when the city's eyes are on you. And the applicant blatantly violated the state laws. During that period, the applicant operated without a retail license, because that's what was being applied for, operated without a manufacturing license, and operated without a packaging license. These are all big deals in the state of California. During the hearing before the City Council on October 22nd, the Chief of Police acknowledged that the city had made a collective decision not to hold the fact that an applicant had operated illegally against them in the marijuana use permit process. So the city is making an informed and knowing decision to grant permits to applicants it knows operated illegally within the last year. And in so doing, in the face of the applicant having received cease and desist letters from the city and state agencies. Why does this matter? Well, it matters because it deprives legal applicants from the opportunity to receive a permit. It jeopardizes consumers. Not all cannabis is created equal. A business that operates outside the law, for example, without the proper licensure, deprives state officials, city officials, and consumers from verifying that the products offered for sale are clean of pesticides and other harmful chemicals. It also exposes the city to liability for knowingly providing a permit to an applicant who openly violated the law. And it jeopardizes potential tax revenue to be received from marijuana use permit applicants by awarding that permit to an applicant who you know has operated illegally within the last year. Now, to that end, applicants' failure to pay taxes last year an application requirement indicates a likelihood that payment of future taxes will also be problematic. We all know past performance is an indicator of future performance. The applicant's past performance indicates an inability to comply with local and state cannabis and tax laws. Conversely, to date, appellant has complied with every single rule and requirement. He did not operate an illegal business. He waited until it was legal and went through the approved channels. Appellant's business partners are attorneys who were successful in their respective fields prior to becoming experts in the cannabis space. By denying the appellant's application, appellant would be next in line to be processed. You can rest assured that as attorneys, they have a knack for deadlines, details, and compliance, such that you can expect continued compliance with all of the laws from appellant. Should you decide not to deny applicant's application, appellant requests that this City Council approve a third permit for this zone. If not, the only applicant that gets denied an opportunity for a marijuana use permit here is the only one who complied with the laws, as all other permits have been or are being processed. Thank you.
Okay, the applicant has the opportunity to speak for 10 minutes also. And please identify yourself.
Yes, good evening. My name is Derek St. Pierre, working with Lit LLC. First off, I wanted to thank you, Mayor, and members of the City Council for hearing this tonight. And I also wanted to extend a special thanks to the Planning Department, Senior Planner Murdoch, as well as Planning Director Wermeister. This has been a very thorough and extensive process that Lit LLC has been a part of since the very inception of the law. I think that the appeal before you is without any merit, that in essence what they are complaining about is unfortunately being pulled in a lottery much lower than the two applicants that placed higher than them. What we did is not only file one, but 5 separate timely applications for all of the properties that we applied for. Each one of those contained all of the necessary information required by statute. And yes, we did subsequently receive a notice of incomplete, requesting additional supplemental materials for our application, all of those which were submitted to the Planning Department and ultimately resulted in approval at the Planning Commission. I'm happy to address any questions regarding the timeline. I believe Mr. Murdoch has adequately outlined that in the staff report in a very thorough manner. And I know that you also had the ability to listen to these same appellants make the same arguments at a prior City Council meeting, so I believe you're aware of the issues that are in front of you. To raise just a few of, or respond to just a few of the issues raised by the appellant, yes, Surefire did operate here in the city of Pacifica. Yes, Surefire did create a tax obligation, and yes, Surefire has paid that tax obligation as indicated in the staff report. Surefire never operated in violation of state law. Surefire operated in the absence of local law, and you've heard the police department speak about that. We did also receive a notice of violation indicating that we should close the location of Surefire, and we timely complied and in fact closed in advance of that deadline imposed by the notice of violation. The final issue I'd like to bring up regarding the appellant's argument is, in fact, they failed to appear at the Planning Commission hearing in which this very permit was approved. They failed to appear at that hearing and raise the issues that they now raise before you. They failed to actually write in advance of that hearing and ask the Planning Commission to address those issues. So in fact, I believe, in good faith, this is not the right venue for them to be raising these issues before you. They should have been raised at the Planning Commission where they could have been properly vetted. I want to thank you once again for your time and consideration. Happy to answer any questions. And I did want to take just a brief moment to address our request regarding modification of hours. Should I do that now or should I wait until later?
Yeah, feel free to do that now.
Thank you. Currently, staff has approved us to operate from 9 a.m. till 8 p.m. Our original application had requested a 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., and we believe that that would be an appropriate timeline considering the local jurisdictions to our north, San Francisco, which allows not only dispensaries to operate until 10 p.m., they also allow delivery until 10 p.m. Whether you know it or not, marijuana is being delivered into your city from outside jurisdictions, and we would like a level playing field to compete on again, so we can compete against those other jurisdictions. Thank you very much. That's all I have. I'll reserve my remaining 5 minutes for the end if there's any necessary rebuttal.
I have one question, and that is about the hours. So you're requesting 9 a.m. to 9 p.m.?
That is correct.
Not later as San Francisco has?
Correct. San Francisco does stay open until 10 p.m. We are not requesting to stay open that late. We've actually done our market research and believe that 9 p.m. would be an appropriate time. In fact, Flory's Bookstore, which would be the immediate neighbor of the business, is open until 9 p.m. And I do not know the name of the gym, but there's also a CrossFit-style gym located across the street that is also operating until 9 p.m.
Are there any residences located above your store?
No, there are not. This is located directly on Palmetto Avenue, has 3 commercial buildings. There are 4 residential units, but they are located above the 2 other buildings that are part of the unit. There is nobody on top of our proposed location. In fact, we have skylights that allow natural lighting into the building.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
Mr. Mayor, if I could follow up to Councilmember O'Neill's earlier question.
Oh, yes.
Article 48 of our zoning regulations allows marijuana retailers to be open from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. unless further restricted by a marijuana use permit.
Thank you. And
Thank you, Chris.
Mike?
Actually, my questions, you asked them. I was going to ask about residences and stuff, so.
On packet page 251, as part of the Planning Commission staff report from the Commission's consideration of this item, you can see a frontal picture of the building in question with a white outline around the space that's proposed, and then the residences above and off to the left of that.
Right. Thank you. Okay, thank you.
I have a follow-up to that question.
Yeah.
So just in
Deirdre
terms of the
Martin.
time. So if this marijuana use permit were granted a time adjustment, it only applies to this permit, not to any other permits, right?
That's correct.
Because those are all location specific, correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So I have a number of speaker cards, and here we go. Tyler Stevens, followed by Tiger Jazz Big Stick, followed by Bridget Duffy. Tyler Stevens? Oh, there you are. Okay.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tyler Stevens. Born and raised in Pacifica, a third-generation Pacifican. I'm up here today because I care about this community, and I have extensive professional background in both the medicinal and legal recreational cannabis industry. I feel it is unfortunate and disheartening for the city of Pacifica and its citizens that marijuana use permits are not being granted to the best and most qualified applicants. However, the most qualified applications may not ever even be reviewed. And instead, the process was set up in such a way that an applicant, such as Lit LLC, was granted 5 ping pong balls out of 12 in multiple permitted zones. Applicant Adam Zollinger only has 1 ping pong ball, only has 1 opportunity at a marijuana use permit, and he is the only applicant who has followed the city's rules thus far. It is based off my experience in the legal recreational cannabis industry. It is a mistake giving permits to people have disobeyed laws set forth over and over again. Other cities have already made this mistake. Specifically in Los Angeles County, we're seeing the impact of allowing illegal operators being granted permits. The illegal black market is still thriving in this industry at a time when it's supposed to be dying. That is because bad habits, bad practices have made their way into the legal cannabis industry and are putting legal operators that are following the rules at a disadvantage, while at the same time potentially endangering cannabis consumers. In closing, people make decisions every day based on following the laws, not breaking them. Why reward someone with a marijuana use permit who has proven that they cannot follow the rules? I'm suggesting that it is in the best interest of the City of Pacifica to deny the applicant's marijuana use application, and if not, at least don't punish the guy who actually is following the laws and has a track record of doing the right thing. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Tiger Jazz Big Stick, followed by Bridget Duffy, followed by Jesus Zahagan.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and Council and staff. I am Tiger Jazz Twirls Big Stick of Pacifica. Like the first permit that was issued by the Planning Commission, there was this feeling like it was a courtroom setting. For this particular use permit, that was not the feeling in the room. It was great. They seemed more knowledgeable. The applicant seemed more knowledgeable and ready for the questions that would be asked. And instead of it being a courtroom setting, it was a back and forth community listening to each other and answering and figuring out how best to build community. The spirit in the room that night was a good one, and one based on experience. Some of this appeals process, both to the last applicant and this one, it seems counterintuitive to me given the way we tend to build community in our small town. I don't know if there will wind up being more appeals in this style, but at this point, it might be a good idea for the city attorney to review CB1 Growth Fund LLC, CB1 Brands, that's the letter C, the letter B, number 1, Brands Growth Fund, and the Stone Barger Law Firm, Stone Barger Law Firm. Should council decide to take staff's recommendation tonight and deny the appeal, while I was talking before the commission, I was telling them that I'm somebody who works until 8 o'clock every night. And I am not somebody who uses medicinal marijuana. If I'm going to buy marijuana, it's going to be recreational. I do not use it very often. I get stoned once or twice a year, maybe. But I would use recreational because I am not a medicinal patient. So if I were to feel the urge for whatever reason, and for me, there's actually kind of a spiritual quality to it, a meditative quality to it, that like once or twice a year I use it. I can kind of get better in tune in my body. I'm starting to work kinks out of my back, that kind of thing. And like if it occurs to me, oh, I need this now, you know, almost in a medicinal way, but it ain't. And I want it in that moment in which it occurred to me, oh, you know, this is the thing I should do for myself. I would not be able to do that if they're closed at 8 o'clock, since that's when I get off work. 9 o'clock would be nice. The reason they didn't do that to be, well, anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Tiger. Bridget Duffy, followed by Jesus Sahagan, followed by Mark Hancock.
Hi. Well, again, for the public that I feel like I represent, I think we should be looking into, at this point, who are the people in Pacifica who are trying to stop permits for marijuana sales. We have to look into these people. I'd like to see some financial records. We have to find out who they're connected to, because this is not beneficial for our city. We're losing money by the ton, every single day. The dispensary we're talking about in question, excellently run, quiet neighborhood, beautiful people that come and shop there. It's probably twice as much that I usually spend, maybe twice as much, but it's convenient, you know? I'd rather give my money in it's convenient, I'll do it, and it's gonna benefit my city. You have all kinds of people in Pacifica that want to do that. It doesn't make any sense. And what is really, really, really disturbing to me is the rhetoric I hear of dangerous, danger to community, danger to consumers. This is the same type and genre of rhetoric that we see coming from many different outside forces that want to push our town around and tell us what we can and cannot do. I'd like to ask a few questions. I don't know if it's appropriate, but marijuana was made legal because it is a beneficial medicinal herb, and they have yet to find one single solitary danger to this product. So my question is that it became legal because it's a helpful, benign product that they can't attach to any death, anything. In car accidents, they can't prove that marijuana has ever been solely responsible for any kind of tragedy or death. And this is why it's legal. So everything we're hearing sounds like it's just a lot of red tape being wound up around something that should have been a very easy transition. We had lots of stores. They were working well. There were people from our community that we trusted. And why weren't they grandfathered in? I don't know. I don't know much about the lottery, but to me, it stinks. It stinks to high heaven. In the same election that rent control lost, this marijuana ordinance passed. That's a bad sign. That's a very bad sign. We have to protect our marijuana industry.
Okay, thank you. Jesus Sahagan, I apologize if I've butchered your name, and followed by Mark Hancock.
Good evening, City Council members, city staff, and residents of Pacifica. My name is Jesus Sagun. I am the CEO of Fog Center over at 2270 Palmetto Avenue. I would like to encourage the council to deny the appeal against Lit LLC. I have personally met with Brett and Holly, and we at the Fog Center look forward to working with Lit LLC to create a Pacifica Cannabis Coalition to further help the community by providing educational sessions as well as resources. We believe they would be a great addition to the community, and once again, I would just like to encourage the denial of the appeal. Thank you.
Thank you, Jesus. And finally, Mark Hancock.
Good evening. My name is Mark Hancock, and I'm on the board of the Fog Foundation at 2274 Palmetto Avenue. The Fog Foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and part of our mission is to educate the public on safe and responsible cannabis consumption and to promote advancements in the medical applications of cannabis. I'm here tonight in support of Lit LLC's marijuana use permit, so I suppose to deny the appeal is what I support. I'd have the pleasure to meet both Brett Chapman and Holly Smalley of Lit. I understand Brett has a long-standing Pacifica family here. These are true Pacificans that care about their community. And without even asking or prompting, they jumped right in and said, what can we do to help with your educational initiatives? I'm confident Brett and Holly would be the right business partners for the Pacifica community, so we're in support of their application.
Thank you. And I have no more speaker cards, so I'm going to close the public hearing and bring it back to council. Sue Vatalas.
Mayor, if I may, Denise Bizzano, City Attorney's Office. I just wanted to respond to the issue regarding the request for continuance of the hearing, if I may.
Yes.
So the city received a request for continuance on November 5th, 2018. And the city attorney's office responded on November 6, 2018. And in our response, we did deny the request for continuance. And there were a couple reasons for that. First, the Pacifica Municipal Code Section 1-4.03 requires that the city clerk agendize the hearing for the appeal within 45 days. So in order to do that, the date set would be November 13th, 2018. That would be the only agenda or council meeting date within the 45-day period. The other reason was that the appellant did not indicate in the request for continuance that they were unavailable, rather that they wanted more time to review the documents requested through a Public Records Act request. And those issues weren't raised in the appeal. And so because the appellant was available and didn't indicate that they were unavailable, and because those issues weren't raised in the appeal, our determination was that it was not about a valid basis for a request for continuance.
Thank you for that.
Yes,
Yeah, go ahead.
that's all I have. And the other issue was that I believe that the appellant had reserved time for a rebuttal.
Right. Does the appellant wish to rebut?
Crystal Matter. Just 2 points of clarification. First, we did not request more time to review documents. We're requesting any time to review documents. We've received no documents from the city to date. We were simply trying to work with the city in a manner in which we could provide everyone ample time to comply with their request, and then give us time to review the documents so that we could all be prepared to have our hearing here tonight. Unfortunately, we don't have that ability because we don't have those documents. The second point that I wanted to make is to clarify a comment about somehow our intent to stop the permits. Our intent is not to stop the permits at all. It's actually quite the opposite. We want to ensure that permits are provided to the right people and to people who will follow the laws, both local laws and state laws. And to that end, we recognize that a lot of people who use cannabis use it for a medicinal purpose. And even if they don't use it for a medicinal purpose, I would venture to say that people want safe products that are regulated by the state, that follow the rules so that they can verify that what they're ingesting is good for them and okay for them. And to that end, people who are immunocompromised, who may be, taking something to alleviate some pains associated with cancer or any number of ailments, we especially want to make sure that those people are receiving the cleanest products possible. So I really just wanted to clarify that we're not in any way intending to stop the marijuana use permit process, and that we really just want to make sure that people have safe access to these sorts of products. Do you have anything you want to add?
No. Just, yeah, I followed the rules from the beginning. I feel like that put me at a disadvantage, unfortunately. I would hope that there'd be a possibility for my permit to be reviewed. If there's an option for a third permit possibly per district, I think that would also take care of, there's only 2 people, I believe, remaining on the application list. And if you opened up 1 per district, Rockaway and Sharp Park, that would take care of all applicants. And also give the city what they wanted, which was 6 permits in the beginning. So that's about it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Closed at once. Okay, so bringing it back to council, Sue Vatalos.
I would like to propose that at a different date, we do a we vote on a text amendment to add additional dispensaries in each of the 2 locations where they have currently applied. Just like the appellant said, there are 2 people remaining on the list, and that would allow 6 locations total in the city, 3 in Rockaway, 3 in Sharp Park. And that would get to our goal of having 6 dispensaries. It would also allow the remaining people on the list to go forward. And I realize that we can't vote on that today, so I'd like to have that on a future agenda.
Okay, thank you, Sue. Deirdre Martin.
I would second that, but I think we should go through the current process first. So let's get through the 4 that we have, and then have that discussion. I think that makes the most sense, because we don't want to stop any process that's already happening right now. We need to get it going. So, but I definitely support that discussion.
Okay, thank you. Any other council comments?
Regarding that discussion, I'm trying to rack my brain as to the parameters we set on why we chose what we did. So as long as it wouldn't go against anything that the public was already expecting, that would be my only caution.
Okay. All right. So I have only one comment, and that is regarding the operating hours. So I favor the operating hours from 9 to 9. So that would extend that by 1 hour from what the Planning Commission granted. And other than that, I'm okay with everything else.
I just had a quick question. If for some reason, let's say they go in there and 9 to 9 is working okay and they decide to open, let's say at 8, would they need to come to the Planning Commission to get approval for that? Or
Yes.
this is actual condition of approval?
Yes, if the council approves this permit with a condition of approval limiting the hours from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., we would need to notice a public hearing and conduct a public hearing at the Planning Commission to then amend that condition of approval to change the hours.
Okay, thanks.
Not to change from 9 to 9, right?
No, so to make any change from what the council may approve this evening.
Right, okay, great.
Can I just say one more thing?
Deirdre Martin.
I just also wanted to say that I don't think that there was a statement made a few times that anybody's being punished for kind of doing the right thing or being legal or operating legal or operating illegally. What happened, and I think whether people were operating legally or illegally or following law or not following the law, I don't think any one person had an advantage over the other than being able to read what was required and submit what was required. And the community was involved. So much so that the community was working together with the police to come up with what is the best, studying what's going on around us and what is the best way to start to integrate into our town. So I think it's just an unfortunate set of events, and I hope we get the chance to see you here again, or in the right way.
Okay, thank you, Deirdre. Mike? Or did it? Okay.
I just have a comment.
Sue DeGree.
I think along those lines, we were very careful amongst ourselves and the city staff, as well as with the publics, to make sure that we were protecting the community from anything that would be harmful.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Do I have any comments from staff?
I would just indicate that if council is inclined to make motions along the staff recommendations, it would be in the form of 2 separate motions. To address the appeal and then the application.
Right. Okay. Right. Okay. So that would be.
What do you do first? Which do you do first?
It's written here as one, though.
Yeah.
I believe what we're talking about is if the hours are going to be extended.
Right.
That would be a separate
So
motion
just
from
the
the
permit,
appeal.
got it.
That would be first, right?
Okay.
Correct.
So I don't think it matters what order we do them in.
I'll make a motion.
Okay?
Okay, I'll make a motion to adopt the resolution included as attachment A to deny the appeal and uphold the Planning Commission's approval of marijuana use permit MUP 1-18. That's the first motion.
Yep.
And then we would vote on that motion separately.
Just to confirm through the mayor, is that likely to be problematic considering we have a single resolution that addresses both the appeal and the permit approval?
Yeah, I think so.
I would just note that typically we would make a single motion to adopt the resolution with any amendments to the conditions of approval. But I
That's
defer
the
to
way
city
we've
attorney.
always done it, yes.
Yeah. If that's the city's practice, that's acceptable.
Okay,
So I'll revise my motion.
yeah.
Adopt the resolution included as attachment A to deny the appeal and uphold the Planning Commission's approval of marijuana use permit MUP-1-18 with an amendment noting operating hours of 9 a.m. to 9 p.m.
Okay.
Second.
Sue DeGree seconded. Please vote. And that passes 5-0. The appeal is denied, and the application is approved. Okay, next is number 15. And this is an item for consideration to adopt the memoranda of understandings with various city bargaining units. And
Do they have copies of?
yeah, we just got them. And could we have a staff report, please?
Mayor Keener, members of the Pacifica City Council, Assistant City Manager Lorenzo Hines with you. I have a quintet of memorandums of understanding with the various bargaining units that is before you or are before you for adoption tonight. We have a memorandum of understanding with the city and the following units: the management employees, Teamsters Local 350, Pacifica Battalion Chiefs, Teamsters Local 856, Pacifica Police Managers Association, Pacifica Police Supervisors Association, and Pacifica Police Officers Association. So what we're requesting tonight is the adoption of these MOUs, including the revised salary schedules effective July 7th, 2018 through June 30, 2021. And so in keeping with the bargaining pattern that we have developed with prior MOUs, we are putting before you MOUs with 3-year terms. There are salary increases of 2% annually for the next 3 years. We're also increasing the ceilings on the city's contributions to medical benefits by 2% a year for the next 3 years as well. And I'll just start on packet page 298 and sort of give you some of the highlights of each agreement. The first agreement is with management employees, Teamsters Local 350. The total cost of this agreement is $250,000. Ongoing cost, $238,000, and there's some additional costs for potential health benefits of about $11,000. And so that brings the total to $250,000. Some provisions of this particular agreement is that we're allowing employees to retire via the Public Agency Retirement Service Supplemental Retirement Program. We're allowing them to retire as early as 50 if they have 5 years of service and a full-time management service with the city. We're also allowing these employees to sell back vacation as well. One thing I would like to bring to the council's attention is that we had a correction to packet page 358. And so 358 contains the salary schedules for this particular group. And so the pages that are in your binders have been corrected, and the only correction is we added an additional classification, and that classification is the senior civil engineer. And I believe the city clerk has passed out corrected pages to you all. The next group that we'll speak to is the Pacifica Battalion Chiefs, Teamsters Local 856. The total cost of this contract is only $3,600 because essentially we are sort of keeping things status quo. We're just making changes in the contract itself. And so if you look to packet page 299, we sort of explain what we're trying to do here. So under the current MOU with the Pacifica Battalion Chiefs, the Chiefs are required to work holidays and weekends. And for their ability or their being available to work holidays and weekends, they're paid an extra 10% pay differential. In practice, they rarely work holidays and weekends. And so what this MOU does is it no longer requires them to work weekends and holidays, yet they get to retain the 10% pay differential. The city's already paying that pay differential, and so there's no additional cost as a result of this change. The next group we'll speak to, and by the way, there is a slight correction with the Pacifica Battalion Chiefs as well, and it's on packet page 377, and we needed to reflect that this MOU will be effective on the first pay period of the third calendar preceding the month in which both parties signed the package. And the contract or the page that's in your packet page, on packet page 377, says it's 2 calendar preceding the months. And so we want to make sure that it says 3. The next group that we'll speak to is the Pacifica Police Managers Association and the Pacifica Police Supervisors Association. So these are 2 MOUs in one. Total cost of these MOUs is $186,000. One of the features is that we're providing life insurance coverage of approximately 1 time their annual salary to 2 times the annual salary, up to $200,000. We're also providing additional compensation for peace officer standards and training certificates, and there's a schedule on packet page 300 which shows the increases. And again, with these changes, in addition to these changes, we are allowing the members of the police management to take home vehicles. And this will allow them to respond more appropriately and more quickly to any issues that happen here at the City of Pacifica. And again, the total cost for this package is $186,000. The next group is the Pacifica Police Officers Association, or Pacifica Police Officers Association. Total cost for this agreement is $250,000. One of the main provisions that we have here, in addition to the salary increases and the health cap increases, are the increases for the peace officer standards and training certificates per the schedule that you see on packet page 300. And so that concludes all of the MOUs that are before you. We reiterate on packet page 301 that there is funding sources that we are looking at to support the increased cost with the ongoing vehicle replacement budget, cannabis revenues, our short-term rental program, and if push comes to shove, we have fund balance to address it as well. And so I ask for council's authority or council's adoption of these MOUs.
Thank you, Lorenzo. Any questions from council? Okay. I have one card from the public. It's Bridget Duffy.
Oh, am I allowed to ask questions?
Nope.
No. Okay, because I've asked this question before, and I'm just going to say it out loud in public again on the record, and then I will be contacting Lorenzo and possibly Sarah. I'd like information on how much money would the city of Pacifica specifically save if we had Medicare for All passed in California? Because I noticed that a lot of the salary raises are medical expenses. The other question I have is that, it was to Sarah. Oh, I don't know if I can ask this of you, but I don't know how to get this information myself. But the city of Pacifica is now giving these $800,000 in raises, I think, or it's a large sum of money in raises, mostly to the police department, it sounds like. That was my other question. Is that the Teamsters we're talking about? When the Teamsters got a 2% raise, was it mostly police officers? Because that's what it sounds like to me. And if so, I would like to see, and I guess I could do it myself if somebody could point me in the right direction, how much of these raises and these salaries go to male employees as opposed to how much they're going to female employees. And I only say that because I'm statistically interested. I know we have one solitary female police officer. Yay! Officer Cunanan. I would love to put a plug into the police department to please start hiring more women, because I actually had an incident, and this ties into what I'm trying to say. I had an incident in front of the post office last December. A man assaulted me verbally. He actually drew another man in, and it was sexual in nature. It was violent in nature, and it was an assault. And I had a choice to sort of stand up for myself or take a chance on getting to my car, which was down the street and parked among a homeless encampment. I chose to push back a little bit. I was just tried and convicted for battery for this incident. So as a taxpayer, you know, I absolutely do not feel that the police department in Pacifica, although I love them personally and I respect them all and I think they're all fantastic people, but as a citizen of Pacifica, I don't feel like the Justice Department is actually working for me or the people right now. So I just want to put out that public, the thing from the public is we're giving police raises, but are we seeing the service from the police that we really are looking for? These are the things that people are starting to ask questions about. So that's what I'm here to do.
Okay. That's the only card that I have. So I'll bring it back to council. Mike.
I just kind of wanted to tell the public that we've been hashing this out in closed session for many meetings. So we really don't have a lot of, don't have a lot of questions because we've been talking about it in closed session for so long. So,
yeah. And I'll sort of add to that. All of these MOUs follow on earlier memorandum of understandings with other unions, and everybody is getting 2% a year increase in salaries. 2% each year for 3 years, and they're getting some augmentation of their health care. And those two things are the same for every union that we've settled with so far. Right, and Lorenzo is nodding that that's correct. Good. The other thing I'd like to say is, and what I've said before, is that we're very grateful to the employees of Pacifica for settling for this. We know that Pacifica is revenue challenged, and we think the unions know that too. And we have honestly tried to give them all that we can possibly afford in these salary increases. We'd like to give them a little bit more if we could, but we really can't. We're scrapping around for how we're going to pay for this. So I think it's a very fair agreement on both sides. And once again, I'd just say thank you to the employees of Pacifica. Anybody else?
I just want to say thank you to Lorenzo, too, and our attorneys who are working on this, too. And Bridget, just a note, I just want to say that in the private sector, this is also a typical percentage increase as well, this year.
Deidre, I can't hear you.
I just wanted to say, to tack on to what Bridget said about, percentages of increase, that in the private sector, 2% right now is standard.
Okay. Yes.
And to the public, I think what all the comments said so far is that while we respect our employees and really appreciate our employees, we also are doing our, fiscal responsibility of making sure that taxpayer money is being used as transparently and as carefully as possible.
Okay. So can I have a motion that includes the corrections that we were handed by the city clerk?
Maybe I shouldn't do it.
Who's feeling brave?
Motion to approve is corrected by the city clerk with the corrections of the city clerk.
Second.
And Sue Votala seconds, and please vote. And that passes 5-0, and so we have 5 more settlements with unions, and thank you. Okay, on to the final item for consideration tonight, and these are appointments to the Emergency Preparedness and Safety Commission, the Economic Development Committee, and the Beautification Advisory Committee. And can I have a staff report, please?
So we have 3 committees, commissions that we had recruited for, and we have vacancies to fill on the Emergency Preparedness and Safety Commission. We would be looking to appoint 2 applicants to the Emergency Preparedness and Safety Commission for full terms, for terms that had expired in October 2018, and the new full terms would go through October 2022. We are also looking to fill 2 positions on the Economic Development Committee, one for a full term. That was a term that had expired in October 2018. So we would look to appoint 1 applicant for a full term through October 2022 to the Economic Development Committee. And then also looking to fill a vacancy for a partial term that would expire in October 2019 on the Economic Development Committee. We have one vacancy on the Beautification Advisory Committee for a partial term that would expire in March of 2021. So we're looking to select one applicant for the Beautification Advisory Committee. Interviews for the applicants to these committees and commissions were held on October 29th, 2018, at which time the city council members were able to interview the applicants to each of these committees. So so I'll pass around sheets here with the names of the applicants to each of the committees, looking to help the city council select members that they would move to then appoint to those committees and commissions.
Okay, that'll be excellent. I have one speaker card on this item. It's Bridget Duffy. So, Bridget Duffy.
What was the subject? I'm sorry. What was it? What did you just?
Applications to committees.
Oh, yes. I just wanted to say, I don't think I got picked for the Beautification Committee again, and I wanted to object. Other than that, I'll just wish you a happy holiday. I'm going on sabbatical till after the new year, and I know it's silly, but you're practically the closest friends I have in Pacifica. So it was a good race, and I think you're all just amazing for doing the service that you're doing to our city, for our city, and all of the city staff and the police and everything. It sounds like I complain a lot, but I'm just trying to bring some new ideas to the table. I feel like we're in an emergency situation in the United States with the climate, with the political situation, and I hope that I don't come off like I don't respect you guys, because I do. And I'm grateful for your service. And John, in particular, you have done an excellent job. You have been an honorable mayor. You have put thought. You have read things. You have went to bat for people. You have went to bat for workers. And I am so grateful for your service. And you too, Sue. Thank you. You're both leaving, so thank you. So have a happy holiday.
You too, Bridget.
All right, let's have those little tally sheets.
Are we voting on the terms too? Or are we just it's gonna be based on numbers?
So, so I'll pass the sheets out for the Emergency Preparedness and Safety Commission. We're looking for 2, and this would be for full terms, for full 4-year terms on this commission.
Okay.
And then, so we'll do a motion for each one, and I'll explain the terms that we're looking for on each one.
Can you pass them all out at once? Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
Okay.
Sarah, didn't you want us to write our name on these ballots?
Yes, if you'd like to write your name, you can.
Which one are we doing first? Put our name on the top.
In the minutes, they have to put, Neil voted for.
No, I understand. Which one are we doing first?
Yeah, but the voting comes later, right? This isn't the formal voting.
Oh, well, whatever.
Yeah.
So this would be selecting who you would like to nominate.
Right.
And then I will, I'll tally what you send back to me and let you know what I receive. And then you would make a motion to appoint a specific applicant.
Yeah. And for the Economic Development Committee, you have a partial term and a full term for that?
So do we write it in?
Yes, so for the Economic Development Committee, there would be one partial term and one full term.
Yeah.
Mark it, full, partial.
So, so you can mark your sheet, and then once I tell you, the results of what you've marked, then you would be able to move to appoint someone for a full term, and then make a separate motion to appoint somebody to the partial term.
Okay.
So we're going to do that not on the sheet. We're going to vote separately for a full term out loud verbally, not on the sheet.
Correct.
Okay.
Didn't do it right, but that's okay. I just wrote what I thought.
Fine, that works.
Okay. Why do we fold these? Yeah, they have to unfold them.
You having a hard time, Deirdre?
Why do we fold them? Why do you guys fold them? Why do we fold them? Just so they can unfold them.
Good point.
Yeah.
Who? I only do it because you guys do it. I don't want to do it.
Okay.
So don't do it.
It's not private, because they know who we voted for later.
It's going to be in the public,
Yeah,
it's going to
exactly.
be in the
We have our
minutes.
names on it. I mean, what's the point? Who cares?
Well, this part could be private,
Okay, until the end.
but
Well, I'm on this end, so you guys don't get to see it.
Yeah, that's right.
that's it. It made,
WC, who cares? So what are you going to do with all your free time?
Oh, I'm already programmed.
Putting in a new floppy disk?
I don't
and-
have all kinds of homework, though.
Putting in a new floppy disk and getting food up. Oh? You gonna miss that?
Yes, no. Happy I'll have a clean house. A clean house and a clean car.
Yeah. It's that song from Cats, Memories. Right? God, I can't believe we can see the end of the room, the back of the room now.
I know, isn't that something?
Wow. What's that pole? I never noticed that pole there before. Is it like conduit?
Pipe.
Maybe. I just never noticed it there before. That pole in the back, it looks like conduit. I've never noticed that before, but now that we have, yeah, but now that we have lights, we can see it.
Don't pull it, it might start a fire.
Yeah. Huh? And Kevin said, "Let there be light." Yes. Wow.
What is it?
These are LEDs.
LED lights, Bridget, LED.
Bridget, they're LEDs. They're better than fluorescent.
okay.
Thank you, council members, for making your selections. For the Emergency Preparedness and Safety Commission, We need 2 on that commission for full terms. Applicant Karsten Bildso did not receive any selections. Gregor Blackburn received 5 selections. Samantha Conway did not receive any selections. And Eric Rushames received 5 selections.
Okay.
Do we make a motion now?
I make a motion that we appoint Gregor Blackburn and Eric Rasheems to full terms on the emergency preparedness.
Okay, please vote. And that passes 5-0. So Gregor Blackburn and Eric Rushames are appointed to the Emergency Preparedness and Safety Commission.
For the Economic Development Committee, the selections came back with 5 selections for Louise McGinnis Barber and 2 indicating that they favored her for partial term. 5 in selections for Matthew Doherty, with 2 indicating that they favored him for full term. No selections for Apeksha Pradhan.
Make a motion.
I would like to have a motion to appoint for a full term, and then we'll vote on that. And then separately, we'll do a motion to appoint for the partial term.
Oh, we can do them both at once.
Well, you want to wait?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to make a motion that Matthew Doherty be for the full term.
I'll second that.
Okay. Please vote. Okay, that passes 5-0. So Matthew Doherty is appointed to the full term on the Economic Development Committee.
And the other one is
And I move that Louise McGinnis Barber be appointed to the partial term on Economic Development Committee.
second.
I'll second.
Okay, please vote. And that passes 5-0. So Louise McGinnis Barber is appointed to the partial term on the Economic Development Committee.
For the Beautification Advisory Committee, we need 1 applicant for a partial term. Applicant Jared Brown did not receive any selections. Applicant Bridget Duffy did not receive any selections. Applicant Linda Jonas received 3 selections. Applicant Deirdre Watson did not receive any selections. And applicant Larry Worstel received 2 selections.
Motion to approve Linda Jonas on the Beautification Advisory Committee.
Second.
Please vote. And that passes 5-0. So Linda Jonas is appointed to the Beautification Advisory Committee. And that, I believe, is a partial term.
Yes, that would be for a partial term that would expire in March of 2021.
Okay, thank you. All right. So we're done. We want to adjourn in memory of all the people that have lost their lives and their homes in Paradise.
Also Woolsey. In Woolsey too, in Malibu area.
Sure.
There was like 2 or 3 people down there that passed.
Okay.
Thank
Adjourned.
you. Happy Thanksgiving, is that right?
Oh, happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Sand might